Dante's Inferno, Canto 12, the Minotaur, the seventh circle, the violent, the river Phlegethon, the violent against their neighbors, the centaurs, tyrants. The place where to descend the bank we came was alpine, from what was there, moreover, of such a kind that every eye would shun it. Such as that ruin is which in the flank smote on this side of Trent the Adige, either by earthquake or by felling stay. For from the mountain top from which it moved to the plain the cliff is shattered so, some path would give to him who was above. Even such was the descent of that ravine. And on the border of the broken chasm the infamy of Crete was stretched along, who was conceived in the fictitious cow. And when he us beheld, he bit himself, even as one whom anger racks within. My sage towards them shouted, "Peradventure thou thinkest that here may be the Duke of Athens, who in the world above brought death to thee? Get thee gone, beast, for this one cometh not instructed by thy sister, but he comes in order to behold your punishments. As is that bull who breaks loose at that moment in which he has received the mortal blow, who cannot walk but staggers here and there. The Minotaur beheld I do the like, and he the wary cried, Run to the passage, while he wroth. 'Tis well thou shouldst descend. Thus down we took our way o'er that discharge of stones, which oftentimes did move themselves beneath my feet from the unwonted burden. Thoughtful I went, and he said, Thou art thinking perhaps upon this ruin which is guarded by that brute anger which just now I quenched. Now will I have thee know, the other time I here descended to the nether hell, this precipice had not yet fallen down. But truly, if I well discern a little before his coming, who the mighty spoil bore off from Dis, and the supernal circle, upon all sides the deep and loathsome valley trembled so, that I thought the universe was thrilled with love, by which there are who think the world oft times converted into chaos. And at that moment this primeval crag, both here and elsewhere, made such overthrow. But fix thine eyes below, for draweth near the river of blood, within which boiling is whoever by violence doth injure others. O blind cupidity, O wrath insane, that spurs us onward so in our short life, and in the eternal then so badly steeps us. I saw an ample moat bent like a bow, as one which all the plain encompasses, conformable to what my guide had said. And between this and the embankment's foot, centaurs in file were running, armed with arrows, as in the world they used the chase to follow. Beholding us descend, each one stood still, and from the squadron 3 detached themselves, with bows and arrows in advance selected. And from afar one cried, Unto what torment come ye, who down the hillside are descending? Tell us from there, if not, I draw the bow. My master said, Our answer will we make to Chiron near you there, and in an evil hour. That will of thine was evermore so hasty. Then touched he me and said, This one is Nisus, who perished for the lovely Deianira, and for himself did vengeance take. And he in the midst, who at his breast is gazing, is the great Chiron, who brought up Achilles, that other, Phylaces, whose was so wrathful. Thousands and thousands go about the moat, shooting with shafts whatever soul emerges out of the blood more than his crime allots. Near we approached unto those monsters fleet. Chiron an arrow took, and with the notch backward upon his jaws he put his beard. Afterward he had uncovered his great mouth. He said to his companions, "Are you aware that he behind moveth whatever he touches? Thus are not wont to do the feet of dead men." And my good guide, who now was at his breast, where the two natures are together joined, replied, "Indeed he lives, and thus alone me it behooves to show him the dark valley. Necessity and not delight impels us." Someone withdrew from singing Hallelujah, who unto me committed this new office. No thief is he, nor I a thievish spirit. But by that virtue through which I am moving my steps along the savage thoroughfare, give us someone of thine to be with us, and who may show us where to pass the fjord, and who may carry this one on his back, for 'tis no spirit that can walk the air. Upon his right breast Chiron wheeled about and said to Nisus, "Turn and do thou guide them, and warn aside if other band may meet thou." We with our faithful escort onward moved, along the brink of the vermilion boiling, wherein the boiled were uttering loud laments. People I saw within up to the eyebrows, and the great centaur said, "Tyrants are these, who dealt in bloodshed and in pillaging. Here they lament their pitiless mischiefs. Here is Alexander and fierce Dionysus, who upon Sicily brought dolorous years. That forehead there which has the hair so black as Iselin, and the other who is blonde Abizo is of Este, who in truth up in the world was by his stepson slain." Then I turned to the poet, and he said, "Now he be first to thee, and second I." A little farther on the centaur stopped above a folk who far down as the throat seemed from that boiling stream to issue forth. A shade he showed us on one side alone, saying, "He cleft asunder in God's bosom the heart that still upon the Thames is honored." Then people saw I, who from out the river lifted their heads, and also the chest. Many among these I recognized. Thus ever more and more grew shallower that blood, so that the feet alone it covered. And there across the moat our passage was. Even as thou there upon this side beholdest the boiling stream that diminishes, the centaur said, I wish thee to believe that on this other more and more declines its bed, until it reunites itself where it behoveth tyranny to groan. Justice divine upon the side is goading that Attila, who was a scourge on earth, and Pyrrhus and Sextus, and forever milks the tears with which the boiling it unseals, and Rainier de Corneto and Rainier Piazzo, who made upon the highways so much war. Then back he turned, passed again the ford. So there's three things, and I'll keep this short because I'm almost out of time. The blood, the pagans, and the broken arch. So first of all, the blood. I find it very fitting again that Dante turns eternal damnation into a science. That if as a tyrant you shed so much blood in life that you spend eternity soaking in blood, up to your neck, your waist in blood. Secondly, the pagans. I like the fact that in Dante, the pagan gods and demigods and mythical beasts are the ones who are the wardens, the prison wardens of hell. I like the fact that it's the Minotaur who deals out the punishments based upon the number of wraps around his tail. I like the fact that it's all the different centaurs that are the ones that are the church wardens over this lake of blood over the tyrants. It makes sense because if the pagan gods and goddesses don't deserve heaven, but there is virtue present in them in the old mythologies, that in a fictional story there is some nobility or glory or honor or rank to them at least having been a mythos or an ethos at some point. They're still in hell, but they're the authorities or the wardens inside of hell. There was still something in them that that allows them to be the ones shooting arrows down into the lake of blood and not the ones actually in the lake of blood suffering damnation. That's exquisite. Whatever possessed Dante, and I have no background on this, but whatever possessed Dante to have that as a notion is beautiful. The third part is, of course, the arch. They come in and they see that this arch is broken, and that if you follow the time inside of Dante, it's the time of the crucifixion. And so, of course, it raises two things. Since they've been down here, hell has changed, and the arch is broken. And they say that this is since the crucifixion. So there's one of two things. Either time passes down in hell, which would go against every Christian theology, because hell is on the same realm of heaven and that both are timeless, they're both eternal. Or the second is that while hell doesn't go by chronological time, hell is still bound by the timelines of heaven, not earth. So it's not that it's going through our 1, 2, 4,000 years, but it's going by salvation history. So yes, there is a timeline to hell, in that there is hell before the crucifixion, there is hell after the crucifixion, there is hell before the last judgment, and then there will be hell after the last judgment, in which all time stops.